Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Lisa Degliantoni, Lisa D. And Lisa is a huge part of the Evanson community in terms of the art world, the media world, and it's just a delight to have here. So thank you, Lisa, for being here.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited too. And, we met several months ago and we had coffee together, which is such a foreign type of thought right now. But you made an impression on me. And, what I got out of that conversation was you're very driven. You're very, you know what you want and you're precise about it in terms of your timing and everything else. And I think you could see it by the things that you're doing. So right now, you've got Evanson Made, you've got the Lisa D show, you do a lot of different things around the community. How did you get involved in this?
Well, there's the pre-COVID activity and then post-COVID activity. For the most part, like you, I'm vastly interested in the people in my community. I'm really interested in storytelling and reporting and sharing, but I have a really narrow interest in that. I'm just really interested and intrigued by the creatives. So like architects and landscape designers and logo makers and graphic designers and painters. I'm really interested in people who make and create. So I think it was like 3 years ago, I started the Lisa D Show podcast just as a sort of census taking of the creative community in Evanston, because I was doing a lot of arts initiatives and arts production and arts promotion. And I just I kept hearing that there were more creatives living in Evanston than any other city of its size in North America. And I just felt like there wasn't a model for me to get to know them all immediately. So I thought, well, a podcast where I just do weekly interviews with people would really enable me to get to know the creatives. And I think last time I checked, I've interviewed 115 visual artists.
Wow.
Which is a lot of talking, Aaron.
A lot of talking. You must like talking. Your background is in the media space, isn't it?
Correct. I have a, my journalism degree is an undergraduate degree in English, but all through college, I worked at like the college newspaper, and then I moved to New York to work in magazines, and I worked for Psychology Today and Spy and Mother Earth News, and really thought that I was going to be on this sort of like print media trajectory. But then I got sidetracked to El Paso, Texas, where I got introduced to television news production, web, daily newspaper, weekly newspaper. I really had this massive explosion and sort of like exposure to all media production. And in El Paso, I had the chance to get in front of the microphone and in front of the camera, which I had always been behind the scenes. And that was really intriguing to me, because I do like to talk, and I like to have easy conversations with people. And I just feel like the live interview really allows for very interesting, authentic, cool storytelling and interview connections. So this kind of moving to Evanston, then all the media that I've done though has been strictly on my own platforms. I'm not like working for an NBC affiliate yet.
Yes. Is that one of your goals?
I thought that when I moved here, I was like, of course WBEZ is going to hear about me and call. But I would never like pitch a major news outlet and be like, put me on your desk. I don't mainly because I don't want to give up editorial control over what I talk about. And I really just only want to interview creatives. I'm not interested in, interviewing the banking industry. And I feel like if I worked for a major news outlet, they'd be like, hey, we got the sponsor, and they're like a shoemaker, so you have to talk to them about where they buy the leather.
Right. Well, one of the things that you've done since COVID has started is you've transitioned your show to be on Instagram Live. And You're doing a lot of different interviews with people who, like the mayor of Evanston, and you've you've talked with Beto O'Rourke. I mean, you've talked to a lot of different people who may not be necessarily in the arts, but
Mm-hmm.
are, you know, important people to speak to. How
Mm-hmm.
has that changed what you're doing?
So what became evident, and I had never, when I did the podcast, it's always been audio. I've never incorporated with video, but I got invited to be on Beto O'Rourke's show, and I was like, oh, Instagram Live, that sounds kind of crazy, but I did it, and it was so fun. And what I've noticed since the shelter-in days, what people are dying for, Aaron, is eye contact, right? So they
Yeah.
don't just want to hear the voices; they don't want to see people walking by. They literally want eye contact with humans. And it was that aha moment where I was like, oh, with Evanston Made, all the work we do is connect our artist members to the public, right? And it's like, how do we do that if we can't have art openings? How do we cross that barrier if we can't gather? So I basically took the Lisa D Show platform, incorporated video, and Instagram Live was one of those things where it's a super easy platform to do. I was going to try Facebook Live today because I've never done it before,
Yeah.
but it became like this immediately. Our artists were like, oh yeah, we'll talk to you. But then people were like, well, what's the mayor's plan? What's downtown Evanston small business owner management plan? What is, like, people want to know how they're going to get back to the new normal. So I kind of feel like when it is right, I've gone off the art grid and brought in people who might be part of putting the puzzle back together of how we do arts engagement.
Yeah, I think that's important that you're doing that. And by the way, I just want to say I'm so happy that the mayor is the mayor, because his background in disaster response, and his company is for disaster response. It's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all you can really ask for, to be leading in this type of situation.
Yeah. And he's so calm, and he's so like, we're going to make decisions about reopening based on the numbers and based on data and based on science. We're not going to get pressure from the business sector or the education sector. And I got so much great feedback from people who just were like, he's so calm. He knows what to do. Like,
Yeah.
but it's unfortunate. And he pointed it out that, like, his whole entire, career has sort of been getting him prepared for this, it's such a strange, weird confluence, but lucky for us.
Yeah, we could benefit from it. But you are also doing some other things in the art space right now, which you reached out to me about, the Evanson Arts Connect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is, you're trying to promote art and having people do things all around town through June 9th. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of the things that started happening as we got to shelter in is I kept getting phone calls from people who were like, what are you going to do, Lisa? How are you going to fix this for the arts community? How are you going to get open, like, and I just really didn't have an answer. And then I'm talking to the mayor, and he's like, what are you going to organize? And I'm like, I don't know. But then I got invited to be on a nonprofit leader call, because I'm the executive director of the nonprofit organization Evanston Made. And in
Right.
that capacity,
I'd
I
like
got
to talk
invited.
more about that. Yeah.
You will, to, just join this call organized by the Community Foundation, just to EDs who were like, what are they doing? And at that point, Jenny Rook from the Institute for Therapeutic Arts had reached out and was like, hey, we're on this call. There's all these community leaders. Is there something that we could do to just say thank you to the helpers and just put a piece of beauty and art out into the public sector in a way that isn't just, professional career artists, but really just anyone, for just like a month, and just hang signs and take pictures and really just celebrate and push art out into the public. And so I think it was like 30 organizations on the launch weekend got together. We, designed a beautiful little logo. It's the
Yeah.
map of Evanston with some hearts. Art connects Evanston. Then the SSAs, Central, Downtown, and Main Dempster Mile, are like, we've got all these empty storefronts. This would be great if we could put art in them. Memorial Day weekend, we're going to do like a sort of self-guided tour, and certain restaurants will have like a picnic lunch, because for the first time, a lot of people aren't going to go camping this Memorial Day weekend, or they aren't going to go see their grandparents in Iowa. Like, people are going to be grounded. And so we're like, what's a good way to get people to explore their town while they're locked inside in a way that doesn't cause them to gather together? So we're just going to have art all over this, like an Easter egg hunt. We're just going to have art all over and an online map. And the nice thing is I just feel Evanston is so full of leaders and organizations who want to do good and give back. And people feel bad about the graduates who aren't going to get a party. They're so grateful to the, to all the helpers, from the grocery store people to the nurses. And it's like, how do we honor all of those people through lots of art and signage and celebration, but like at a distance?
Yeah. Yesterday, we're recording on May 13th here, and yesterday the Blue Angels flew through town. And I thought that was a really nice way to say thank you to all these people who are doing that. However, you have a lot of people gathering along the lakefront to see it.
Yep.
And it was a little bit scary.
Yeah. And you have a lot of helpers who, as the Blue Angels were flying over, it's possible that they were inside, right, working, or they were at the grocery store, and or they were in the ER. So, I mean, it is, what we want is to have art in front of people's face so that when they are driving home from their shift, or they are unloading their car and they're like, oh my gosh, who put this beautiful thank you sign in my window? We sort of just want to put really art in everybody's face so that we don't miss the person working on the overnight shift. And we also don't have the budget for the Blue Angels, Aaron. Oh my gosh.
No, we don't. No, not at all. But in order for people to learn more about it, they should go to evanstonmade.org, right?
Yeah, evanstonmade.org. There's also a really big part of the Evanston Art Connects initiative is we want to get art kits in people's hands. We've heard from a lot of District 65 teachers who are telling us, hey, my students can't make art on plain paper because they only have binder paper at home that they're ripping out of a notepad and like pens. So we need art supplies. So we're working directly with Kids Create Change. And on their website, Kids Create Change, you can go and get information about supplies that we need you to donate, crayons and pens and paper. You can see videos on how to, because a lot of people are like, I don't know how to make art and put it in my window. So there's videos on how to make art. What if you don't have art supplies? There's info on like, go into nature and make a sculpture. So
what's the website again?
kidscreatechange.com. And then there's also artmakersoutpost.com, which was started by Valerie Cahan on South Boulevard. It's a really cool organization that collects old art supplies and gives them to people. And I can email you all these links, but like what we, in addition to, the making aspect, we also want to help people make art, but see that you can make art from junk in your house. You can make art from stuff in the park. We're just asking that no matter what you make, that you share it, so that you take a picture and you put it anywhere on social media and you use the hashtag Evanston Art Connects. And then we'll make a big slideshow.
If you're in Skevinston, can you still do this?
Totally. Yeah. You brought that up, Aaron, because what we would love is we'd love Art Connects to get just lifted up and taken everywhere. We really want to show people that, because people are feeling like, oh, I can't go to the park, or I can't go get coffee, right? And just do these normal social engagements. But it's like, we can listen to music and share it via Instagram Live. We can make art and put it in our windows and our neighbor can see it. Like, we can connect through art and culture. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that Art Connects Skevinston happens, Art Connects Milwaukee. Yeah, it is not at all meant to be like a territorial thing, although I have been accused frequently of only wanting to work with Evanston artists in this scenario, in this new world order. I'm really hoping that just like everybody gets up and makes an awesome sign that says, thank you, helpers, and congratulations, graduates.
Yeah, and I think, art is so important for our mental health, which affects our physical health.
Mm-hmm.
And artists create the ideas for new types of ways of life.
Hmm.
And, I see a seismic change in our society right now. And, if we can be creative and think of new, different ways of living and work and whatnot, it can help us get through this.
Hmm. And also therapeutically, we're hearing from a lot of people who are like, it's helping me to knit for 2 hours a day. It's helping me to write for, like, people are using the creative outlets just as a way to keep their mental health on point. And that's another thing that we really want to bring awareness to people, that, like, yes, you can't go out and do your normal things, but you can stay home and do a lot of creative endeavors that might make you feel just as good.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's so great that Jenny Rook got in touch with you about it, because what they do, and I've had them on the show and talked to them and to her. And I think that it's, it's so important and valuable to people to have that release,
Yeah,
of making
absolutely.
that
And
art.
it's like we're having to pivot in so many ways as humans, but like a very basic skill that all of us have, we can doodle. We can draw. It's not, maybe not going to look like we want it to, but it is an exercise that is absolutely ingrained in us as humans. And so just embracing that again, and letting yourself doodle, or take pictures with your cell phone and on a quick walk around the block. I mean, it's something that's very inherent in humans.
It sure is. I mean, we did it in caves.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the first thing we did. I mean, we burned stuff, made babies, and made art. I mean, it's like what we're totally owing a lot of food. Very Italian.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, how are you coping with, like, not being able to have these gatherings though in your house? I mean, are you like,
I'm having a heart attack. So you know that I live inside of an art gallery. I live inside of like an old Polish meat shop that we converted into our home. Oh my
which
gosh,
is
because who does
amazing?
that? And we have this gallery storefront, and really we thought, my husband and I, like, when the shelter in happened, we're like, oh, we just have to take the gallery offline and shut everything down. And the whole year booked, done, canceled. But one day my husband came in and he's like, we have 7 really big, beautiful windows. Maybe we could just build a mechanism where we could hang art in the windows. And I'm like, oh, I don't really know if artists want sun exposure on their work, number one. And number two, I don't want people to feel obliged to be buying art right now. Like, people are worried about getting flour. Like, I felt like it would just be the wrong message. But then I'm like, everybody walks by every day with their dogs, there's little kids. And every artist who we've invited to show has been like, sure, show my 7 pieces in my windows. And then both shows that we've had 2 so far, people have bought art. And I'm like, what are you doing buying art in a pandemic? And I've heard from people who were strangers. Some are people who bought art that I knew, but other people were strangers, and they're like, I had to buy a gift. I have a lot of free time and I'm staring at a wall that I hate in my house.
Yeah.
I always knew that this guy, Jordan Scott, made amazing art, but I hadn't seen it in person. So it's like, people want to be around art. People want to buy art. People want to support artists. And so it just took, like, my husband suggesting this one pivot and me being like, okay. And now, sort of, I mean, as best as we can, the gallery's online and I can talk to people through the glass door. But yeah, we will not have people back in this space until all of Illinois gets opened up. And we're encouraging, like, we have neighbors down the street, Beth Adler, Alice George, Lindy Scotten, and Ben Blunt. They all have art studios. So we've asked them to put art in their windows. And now people know that they can come to this city block and they can walk by like 4 or 5 windows and see a bunch of art. So it's kind of like, we pivoted, we all put our art in windows, and now it's sort of a new art location. And it's been really, we've seen galleries and studios do it across Evanston, which will be another part of the Memorial Day tour, is that, like, we really want to showcase how innovative and creative problem solvers so many of these galleries and artists have been, because what are we going to do? We can't just stop making and sharing because the humans aren't here. We have to activate our windows and our sidewalks.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your neighborhood that you live in. It is the cutest, like, few blocks there. It is like, it just feels unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got the housing stock is very diverse. There's a lot of storefronts that have been converted into homes. There's a ton of brick matched with a ton of modern clapboard architecture. Like it's a very mixed neighborhood, and it looks unlike, I feel, the rest of Evanston. Like it looks old and tiny, and even the streets feel thinner. And
Yeah.
it's got a name. What do they call us? The West Village Arts District.
And
Very
it's
cute.
basically like Greenleaf from Dodge to Asbury and like
Yeah.
surrounding
And
areas.
it's super tiny. It's like our borders are Asbury, Maine, Dodge, and Dempster. And it's just like all these tiny little streets, and it's adorable. And when we were doing Evanston Made and started the studio tour map, one of the things that we discovered is that there are tons of artists and studios in this neighborhood. And I don't know whether that's because there's a lot of like ADU accessory dwelling or like garage studio situations, but there's a ton of artists in this neighborhood. So it just lends itself already to being cute and artsy. People like Amanda Evanston did a huge mural on her garage door. It's a very colorful and active neighborhood.
Yeah, it is. And I think that there's potential for more of it with accessible dwelling units being permitted. And I was talking to one of the co-founders of this organization that does it the other day, just not on a podcast, but talking to him about it. But I think that could really open up a lot of economic opportunity and opportunity for artists where
Mm-hmm.
maybe they could live in these places, make art, and sell it within the area and kind of build ourselves back up from whatever the devastation is going to be.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of cities that have adjusted models of where they've taken old industrial neighborhoods and they've put TIF overlays and their art districts on them. And now I would love for the city of Evanston to potentially do that in warehouses that are empty and or in accessory dwelling units and make them give tax benefits if artists are moving into them. That would be excellent. And yeah, because I feel like the city of Evanston is going to have to pivot in a way that makes tax bases more diversified. And if we can possibly do an arts district and or a whole entire sort of arts overlay, that would be ideal. And of course I want that to be in my neighborhood.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
What got you so into art in the first place?
I turned 40 and I accepted that I wouldn't be Oprah Winfrey and or Anna Wintour. I just had one of those grown up aha moments of really a lot of personal self-evaluation. And I was working on a project with a guy named Mike Miners at Hack Studio. And one of the things that he talked about all the time was you have to find people or a group of people who you can give yourself to, who you can help, who you can work with to just sort of not give yourself away, but give of your time and give of your money and give of your hope and give of your everything. And I was just I don't really, I don't have that group of people. I'm not supporting all the environmentalists, or I'm not working with, animal shelters. And I'm I got to pick a group of people to help because I'm getting old. I need to give back. And it became, I'm married to a visual artist. So I have the firsthand experience of understanding, I feel the trials and tribulations of how difficult it is to make and share. And I had moved to Evanston at 40 and kind of needed a group to start folding in with. And I was invited to be on the Evanston Arts Council. And about 6 months in, I was these people need a lot of help. And I'm very hyperactive. I'm a producer by nature. I
You're a
want to
leader.
do a million things. Yeah. And I'm just well, why don't I help the artist? And I didn't go out and poll artists, but I started making events and artists just started folding themselves in because nobody had made a studio tour. I mean, there were like studio tours like in the 80s in Evanston, but then I think the ringleader left, and like then they went to the side. There used to be like a film festival, but then the leader of it left. And so like I wanted to sort of bring back a lot of the arts layers that were happening, but then also create an organization that when the leader of that thing left, there was an organization and a group of volunteers and humans to keep it going and make it sustainable. And that's where I went from figuring out to help artists, starting a group show and a studio tour, to creating a nonprofit organization with a board and a budget, so that when I get hit by a bus, as I say all the time, which is I'm going to eventually make it true, Aaron,
Oh,
and or move to Barcelona, because why not?
Yeah, why? That's better.
You know that.
Say that.
Say that. Then the infrastructure of the robust arts environment will live. And I lived in, so I'm from San Francisco. I lived in Brooklyn for many years. I've lived in El Paso, Texas. Like I've lived in places I lived in San Diego, places that have very robust, well-funded, part of the city government, economically driven, arts organizations. And I was really shocked that Evanston didn't have that. But we're in the shadow of Chicago. We are like the second best art market in the United States is in Chicago. And I think people just sort of drive through Evanston to get to Chicago. They take their money and they give it to organizations in Chicago. I kind of was like, well, Evanston deserves a little love and attention and an infrastructure. And I've only been here 7 years. God, it feels like so much longer. But I feel like if anything that I've worked toward in the last 7 years is just building awareness and community around the arts. And that's phase one. Now there has to be a sustainable model that just keeps it going for forever.
Do you consider yourself an artist?
I like to say that I don't make things, I make things happen. I actually really don't like making things, because I'm way too controlling, and I need the outcome to be very specific. I'm not like, let's see what happens on the canvas and we'll see. That's totally not my nature. I want there to be metrics that are specific with deadlines that come with it. But there is an art to producing, and there is an art to convincing people to get on board and do something that maybe they just can't really see the value of out of the gate. And art it's so subjective, and it makes people oftentimes feel like they don't know, or it makes them intimidated because they can't afford it. But really it's like you said earlier, it's you started doing first, really. And I feel like it's a thread line that we just don't really acknowledge and appreciate enough. But what you can do, I think the most powerful thing about art is the community building aspect. It's like you can get to know your neighbor, you can gift art, you can make art, you can express yourself, and you can then be part of something much bigger. And I feel like that's what Evanston, it had all these raw materials. It had the artists, and it had the beautiful landscape, and it had art studios, and had all of that. It just needed a bit of a glue. And it's the glue part that I would say is probably the artistic part of me. But unlike an artist who's really open to what happens, I'm very specific about what I want to happen.
Yeah. Well, I would say that the art that you create through your media is art as well. Your conversations, your interviews with people, I think you're living it.
Oh yeah, that is true. And I mean, I really also, when you go to writing school, for instance, they're always like, write about what you know, or, paint what you love. And I do think my favorite thing on the planet, besides eating, is talking to people. I'm so nosy, and I'm so interested, and I want to know why everybody makes the decisions that they make. And I feel like if I can do that, and even in my own little bubble on my own little platform once a day, and do the thing that I love, and it connects me to other people, that's just awesome. So that's what I'm just going to keep doing.
That's winning. Bigly. I really, though, what you say about art, I think is so true. And I don't know, like the pieces of art that I have in my own home, I, some of them might be pictures. A lot of them are pictures from my father-in-law. He's a photographer as a
Mhm.
hobby, but he's incredibly good at it. And it's just so nice to see some of those photos up in their memory. And um, something that was really cool last summer, I was in Southeast Asia for a trip, a trade mission, and I decided that on a whim, I was in Thailand, and I'm like, I'm going to take a day, I'm going to go to Vietnam. I wanted to see it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I went to Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, and went at night. In the morning, tour guide picks me up, who, by the way, like, we're Facebook friends now, and like always comments on my stuff. And I think it's like the coolest thing, and I love it. But it was such an interesting experience taking me to different places and seeing things. And he took me to an artist studio, and all the
Nice.
artists are sitting outside, and they are either descendants of or survivors of Agent Orange, and they're sitting outside there making this artwork with eggshells and lacquer and paint and all these things. And it's pretty dingy, outside there. It's hot, and you go inside to the store, and it's beautiful. And there's art all over the walls and
Mhm.
everywhere. And I saw a piece that I thought would be great in my dining room. I video chatted with my wife from 9,000 miles away.
Oh, how cool.
So cool. We taped up on the wall at our house to see the dimensions, to see if it would fit. I bought it, shipped it, and now it's in my house. And I look back at that, and it has so much memory,
Yeah.
meaning to me. And,
Mhm.
I think that on one hand, it shows exactly why art's important,
Mhm.
and what it expresses to the person who views it. And I think it also shows you that, art can be bought and sold no matter what the logistical
Yeah.
issue is. So it gives
Totally.
us hope for this type of situation where we can't be inside, but
Mhm.
the creatives like you and others, to be able to express it and showcase the art is important, and we need to keep that up.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And it also goes to show you that there can be connection through not only massive amounts of miles, right, geographically, but also socially, economically, gender. Like, it's really such a connective way to get to know other humans who you might never engage with or,
Never.
talk to or have anything in common with. It's really beautiful.
It was one of the most meaningful things I've ever seen in my life. It was, that day was yeah, intense. But
Awesome.
yeah, but art is important. So where can people go to, oh, by the way, before I ask, where, you have memberships to Evanson Made, right?
We do. So we started the membership model about a year and a half ago, where patrons of the art, businesses, and or just individual artists can join our organization for anywhere between $45 to $100 a year. And you, on our website, it says join at evanstonmade.org. And what we're doing with the membership model is, like, for artists, one of the benefits is you get to be inside of an annual group show and we showcase your art. Or we build you a portfolio page on our website. We found that a lot of our artists in Evanston didn't have websites. They didn't have a web presence at all. You'd Google them and it would go to like the yellow pages. So we thought, well, we'll build a beautiful clearinghouse for all artists. So, like, we have an all artist page that we were just talking about. Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
On
So
our members page on, yeah, if you go there and you go all artist on the lower left hand side,
mhm.
yeah, this is what's so crazy. So we have tons. I think we have almost 300, and then start scrolling slowly down the page because it'll be overwhelming. I mean, we have painters, we have fabric designers, we have photographers, we have, I mean, it's woodworkers. Boz Cumberbatch from Maui moved here. We have people who do fiber arts. And so the idea is just to really help the public connect with, if you are needing someone who does mosaics with glass, if you're needing someone who does portrait work, or someone who can take a picture with you and your pets. We just want to help people connect with artists, really. And so we found that, you know, if you're a member, what we're going to help you do is promote your work, sell your work. But then another big part of being a member with us, and it's open really to anybody, is you get professional development. So we teach you how to use Instagram. We teach you how to, you know, price your art. A lot of people don't even know how to price art because it's so difficult. We teach you how to do art fairs. We teach you how to, you know, build out almost anything as it relates to the layout of your picture, framing, any of that. And then if you're a business, let's say you're like, we have a business member, Jen Martinson, who does a lot of really good work helping artists sort of do the admin back end part of their work. You can be a business member and then have access to our members, and you can offer them professional development. So the idea is just to really like create an inclusive community of all artists and patrons who can join together to elevate the arts. And that model's been happening for about a year, and we launched it and thought, you know, it'll be great if 25 people sign up. That'll be fantastic. 300 humans have joined Evanston Made in the last calendar year. And granted, some are more active than others, but it's been incredible. And even in the pandemic, I just opened up 5 or 4 new membership renewals. So, I mean, it's like people are still just so excited to be part of something that's helping elevate all artists. And it's been so fun to work on, I have to say.
Would you call it an incubator in a way?
Yeah, I mean, because we've in trying to like finesse the language for grants and funders, we've talked about being like an 18-1, but for the creatives. So like we're doing business acceleration and we're helping people build out models, but it's not for traditional business, it's for small business owners in the creative arts. Ideally, let's pretend someday there's a huge building and a lot of us can be in it, and we can have classrooms and we can have environments where people can pilot their different small businesses in the creative arts. So yeah, it's absolutely, it's an arts accelerator, but it's really small right now. So,
oh, you're better off now that it's small, and then you can, when things
that's true.
open up, you know, you don't have as much exposure.
So true. Yeah. And we don't have an overhead yet. We don't have a staff. We don't have a building, you know, like we are just in this sort of groundling a year into our nonprofit status where we have all these budgets and big dreams. And yes, we're having to pause them for a bit, but we might be poised, like you said, to do great work when the time comes available.
I hope you do. And your podcast, The Lisa D Show, how often do you record, and how can people tune in?
So it's on SoundCloud. So it's like SoundCloud / Lisa Degliantoni, right? It's my whole entire last name. Or if you Google The Lisa D Show, you also just get to all because there's parts of it on YouTube. Ideally, I'm doing the podcast once a week. But yeah, and I have a blog. That's right. The Lisa D Show .blogspot.com. Thanks, Aaron, for paying attention.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it's feast or famine. It's but really what I try to push people to is the archives, because what I want is for someone to be able to connect the dots. So like, let's say they see an Ellen Green painting, but they can't find her website, but they want to hear her voice, and they might Google it and then jump into a situation where they're like, oh, here's the conversation with her and this girl. Like, I sort of just want to build the underlying layer of arts content so that anyone who's looking, whether it's to purchase the art or to get to know the artist, will find it.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's you create a hub for it.
Yeah. And it's really, I mean, as you know, it's all about content, right? So if somebody is going to find you to get a house, they're first going to spend a significant amount of time Googling you. And if they can find content that shows the whole you, they're more likely to trust you enough to do an engagement with you, versus if they can't find a darn thing about you, or they don't understand your interests, but like, oh, Aaron's minded, he's connecting people, he loves where he lives, check out all these cool projects. It makes it so much easier to have a conversation with you by the time they find your phone number.
Oh yeah, there's no ice involved at all at that point.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love talking with you. I'm so glad you joined me. And, everyone, please tune in to the Lisa D Show. And, we got to support our media friends here in Evanston and definitely support the arts. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Aaron. I love being on the show.
I loved having you. Thank you.